Hey everyone, it's Jose, and here will be my thoughts on the new Oppo Find X6 phones, which actually surprised me this year because of some of the changes they've made to the camera hardware, which is really impressive. Like, it really impresses me. So we'll go over that. And before we start, I just want to point out that this little detail right here, this, I don't know what you would call it, but it's basically the camera bump of the phone. And I thought it was just a little detail that will go unnoticed by a lot of people who watch this presentation. But when I saw it, I thought it was a cool little detail. So I just wanted to point it out. So yeah, let's get started. Now, something that the speaker kind of highlights about their Oppo phones, the Find X phones, is that they're supposed to be really good with video. And that kind of caught me off guard a little bit because I know a lot of companies like Xiaomi, they want to focus on video, and Oppo wants to focus on video, and Samsung wants to focus on like improving their video quality. But whenever I think of Oppo or who has like the best video quality on Android phones, I don't think of Oppo phones. But this year, it's actually different from the stuff I've seen from early YouTube reviews on the Oppo Find X6 phones. Video quality is really, really impressive this year compared to other phones, especially with the periscope camera. The 3x camera takes really good video. So yeah, if Oppo keeps this up, they're gonna have probably the top video quality out of any other Android phone, at least compared to iPhone, which is always the best. But in terms of Android, I think Oppo's gonna have the best one so far. Now, there's two things I really like about phones, or what I like the most about phones when I'm trying to buy a new phone or something like that. So the first kind of has to do with camera performance and camera hardware, so the software and hardware. But a very close second place to me is the design of the phone. And when I look at this Find X6 phones, I think it is one of the most beautiful phones we have right now because Oppo doesn't really have good phone like designs, not really. Neither does, I don't know, like OnePlus or Samsung or any of these phones. It's mostly Huawei. I really like Huawei's design. And when I see this new Find X6 phones, especially with the desert kind of brown and the white, I think of a Huawei phone. I think of like a Huawei Mate phone. Like this could have been like a Mate 30 phone or something like that. So this design is like I really, really, really like it. It really stands out to me. So if I was to purchase like this phone, I would be really satisfied with how the phone looks. Because again, that's one of the things I really care about phones. It also really reminds me of this one camera. I think it's the Nikon Z50 with the brown and the ridges. It looks like that camera. So if I was to like have this phone in like in my pocket whenever I would take it out, I would feel like I'm taking out that Nikon Z50 camera. So it's a really, really beautiful phone. You can see the camera ridges were the same as right here. This is the camera bump, and you can see that's the camera bump with the camera ridges. I think it looks very, very beautiful. A lot better than the Xiaomi 12S Ultra, I'll say that. Even though that phone looked really cool, I think this one just tops it by a lot. This is just a really nice design phone. And just to show you a little bit more about the design, I guess they made this video kind of to visually represent what the phone is supposed to look like. So the brown is like desert dunes and stuff like that. And as we will see right now, it will change into a little story about, here you go, about a warrior and fire or something like that. And I think the visuals look really good. But what's kind of funny is that the warrior is kind of wearing red and there's practically no red on the phone. So I'm kind of curious as to the statement they're trying to make with the design of the phone, because I know a lot of Chinese manufacturers really like to explain how they came up with the design, and I really like it when they explain it and put effort into, you know, finding inspiration for the design of their phones. But yeah, it's just kind of funny to me that we kind of had like this phone, like just the way it looks, and it somehow turned out to be like fire and something in the desert or something like that. But overall, the visuals are really cool. I would really like it if this phone actually had red or some variant including red, just based off that video we just saw. But the design of the phone is, again, really, really, really beautiful. I really like the effort Oppo put into this year's X phones because it really stands out to me. Also, what stands out to me is that this little survey the speaker is talking about. Now, I think Xiaomi did a survey as well relating to cameras or something like that, if I can recall correctly. But basically, what this survey is supposed to be about is like how much would you uh, value the performance of your main camera compared to the ultra wide camera compared to the telephoto camera? Like, what's the best camera quality? What camera has the best camera quality out of those three cameras? And most people would choose main camera because that's the one that has the better processing, the bigger sensor size. Like, it's your main camera. It's supposed to be better than the other cameras. But as I will explain later on, like this year, all of the three cameras have significantly improved in quality, and it just like it exceeds my expectations for this year's Oppo phone. Like this Oppo phone with its camera quality across those three sensors, ultra wide, main, and telephoto, like they set a new bar as to what kind of performance should you expect for 2023 and 2024 camera performance on phones. So as we will dive into later on in this video, I'll show you the new bar they have set because it's really impressive with what they've done. Now, this is kind of dumb, but all of the camera samples they've kind of shown in this whole presentation, they feel kind of like cherry picked in a way, as to say that I'm not saying that they're too good or something like that, but I feel like they didn't really do a good job as to explaining, like fully explaining the camera quality on their phones. Like it's like they talk about cameras, of course, like pretty well, but they don't give me the details that I want to see about like what makes their camera quality good. It's just like it feels too bland, which is why I'm going to show you actual camera samples from Weibo and the Oppo site. But yeah, this presentation with their camera samples just felt very lackluster to me. There's not really a lot I want to show you. Like these camera samples look good, but they just don't feel, like I said, exactly too representative of kind of photos people would take, or that the photos themselves kind of feel like, I don't know, like too, I don't know how I would describe it. They're good photos. It's just, there's not a lot of things I feel, I guess, that speak out to me about these details. So we'll go over the website right now. Here we have Oppo's website, and you can see kind of just the details on the phone. But again, the phone is extremely beautiful. I really like the design. This Desert Silver Moon variant is the best out of this green or this dark cloud dark. I do like this kind of granite look. It reminds me of like the OnePlus 10T and phones like that. This green look is kind of all right. Kind of reminds me of the Honor Magic 5 phones. But this one speaks out to me. This one is as ambitious as that Find X2 Pro phone with that vegan leather. Like this kind of calls back to it. And I really like the choices they've made so far. So this is like the moon in some way, and this is like the dunes of the desert. Again, I really like it when Chinese manufacturers explain how they got their inspiration of stuff. Like, yeah, like this is supposed to be like a lake of some sort, and this is supposed to be like the lake, but dark or something like that. So yeah. And of course, the cameras. Now, what I really like about the cameras this year is that if you think about it, let's say a triple camera setup, a main camera, a telephoto, and an ultra wide. The main camera will always be like the best camera because it's the biggest sensor. It probably has like the best processing. The optics are the are just better and stuff like that. Now, what makes this Oppo phone really stand out this year, like really, really stand out this year, is that Oppo really wanted to put more effort into improving the quality of the other sensors, the telephoto sensor and the ultra wide sensor. So what they did is they put a flagship grade sensor to both the ultra wide and the telephoto sensor, and they're the exact same sensor. This sensor, I forgot what it's called. I think it's the IMX 890. That sensor is not only a pretty big sensor, it's a type 1 over 1.56 inch sensor. I think it's the same sensor they put in other phones. Like I think the OnePlus 10 Pro had this sensor, and there's a bunch of phones out there that have this size of a sensor for a main sensor. So by putting a main sensor into the ultra wide and into the telephoto, you have drastically improved the quality of your sensor. And I think that's just like really awesome. And you also have your type 1-inch sensor, which is the IMX 989. Pretty good that they have this year, because if they didn't have it for this year, that would have been really dumb. But yeah, I like how Will from Gizmo China kind of put it. Your camera kind of typically has three sensors, these three sensors right here, but you have a main sensor and two additional sensors, right? And what made those additional sensors additional is because they kind of lacked quality compared to the main sensor. But this year, you do not have a triple camera setup with just a main sensor and two additional sensors. You have a triple camera setup with three main sensors, just because the ultra wide and the telephoto are just really good sensors this time around. They're a lot bigger. It's the IMX 890, which is the same sensor that is used by other phones as their main sensor. So I think it's just really, really, really awesome that we have three big sensors this time around for this Oppo phone. It really astonishes me that they managed to do it. Also, just kind of dumb, but I felt like I had to mention it anyway. Of course, this camera has a laser autofocus system, but I don't know what it has. The leaks kind of implied that it would have a direct time of flight sensor, which it looks like it has a direct time of flight sensor. Not that it matters, of course, but I'm just saying that if it does have a time of flight sensor, this phone is more appealing to me, because I would rather have DTOF than laser autofocus, and I just felt the need to just point that out. And we have a pretty good amount of camera samples to talk about. So going back to kind of this setting, it was the video I showed you where you have this warrior kind of, I don't know, in the desert with fire, based off this silver desert moon variant. So I just want to say that the colors of this, the color reproduction by the telephoto sensor, all of them are taken on the telephoto sensor, is that they're pretty good. I like the color red. I like the color of her skin. It feels accurate. The color of the sky is pretty fine. The exposure's pretty good, but if I was to guess, her face is probably like exposed by like professional lighting, if I was to guess, just because of how much like light is bouncing off of her. Like this isn't like a flash. Like someone is like pointing and reflecting light onto her face, which is fine. A lot of these phones kind of have or a lot of these photo samples are, again, cherry picked and professionally produced and stuff like that. But I'm just saying, like, it looks good. Like, it looks pretty good. Shadows look pretty good. Pretty lifelike. Colors are natural, like I said. And I really like these photos, but I just hope that they're not edited in any way, because a lot of phone manufacturers actually edit their photos when presenting them on the Keynote or on Weibo on their social media. So yeah, these photos are pretty good. I really like how they came out. I just hope that they're not edited. That's all I'm going to say about these photos before we move on to the next one. And we have more right here. This, I wonder if this had a like, yeah, it did have a sort of longer exposure, 1/9 of a second. So that's pretty good. That was on the ultra wide. This photo looks pretty good. Of course, it looks edited. Like, I don't think a filter kind of took this photo. I think it was actually edited, which is kind of fine, but kind of wish smartphone manufacturers didn't do that. I'm not sure what this is supposed to be, but looks pretty nice. Again, probably edited. This photo, probably not that edited, because when I think of Oppo phones, I do think of phones that kind of like to saturate like the sky like this. The clothes is kind of interesting because it's purple, and I don't really think Oppo phones kind of capture the purple like this. Like, if I was to imagine what that purple would look like in real life, it would probably look like that, which either makes me think this photo is probably like slightly edited just to touch up the purple, not too much of the sky. But whether it's edited or not, it looks like a fairly accurate photo of what the phone can capture. Only thing that's throwing me off is the purple and how saturated this fur on the hat is. That kind of looks saturated. This photo, again, probably edited in some way, but it's a really nice looking photo. A photo no one kind of has the ability to capture because it's an aerial view, so your consumer's not going to be able to capture that. But it's fine. I like what they captured. The horse, 72 millimeters. Telephoto, of course. Edited, of course, but just because of extreme contrast. But it's a good photo. I like what they did. Uh, this kind of looks like an AI generated photo. I'm just gonna point that out just because of the color, but it's just edited. And we have more photos to go through, but I just wanted to quickly go through these because they kind of capture my attention. Now, these photos do kind of get my attention a lot, particularly with these two. Like, these two, we've seen this photo before. Nice photo. Telephoto sensor, also a telephoto sensor. Nice photo, probably edited or something. But these two photos, now you might think to yourself, like, these photos are clearly edited. Just look how, how much contrast you have, like how good of a photo this looks, right? And you would be right. But if I was to assume, I think this is actually a color profile on the phone. It could still be edited just because this photo is way too good. Like, this looks super DSLR like. And this was taken on the telephoto sensor, not even the the type 1-inch sensor. So, yeah, so basically I just kind of wanted to say that I'm sort of making a video. I have been making a video for a few months about kind of exploring what makes photos like these good and how you can take them on your smartphone and with ease, like super minor editing. But yeah, this photo, if it's not edited and if it's just a filter that you can apply on your phone, then it's a terrific photo, especially for being taken on a telephoto sensor. Like, this bokeh segmentation is really good. Taking that 65 millimeters, that's pretty good. This one also really good. The foreground right here is really nicely captured with the middle ground and the background. Like, they're all really good photos, but I'd have to wait for more in-depth reviews to see if this is like what you can really capture on the phone. I think you can, but if it's just like a filter, then that's even better. I also just want to point out this really quick, this Hasselblad watermark where it tells you the focal length, aperture, shutter speed, ISO. Now, it has kind of caught my attention. First, it was Xiaomi with the 12S phones that they've added a Leica watermark to their photos. And it was the same thing. It tells you like the phone it was taken on, the GPS coordinates and all this details, and had a Leica logo. And this was basically like the watermark where you have the photo here and then the white bar, which is like the watermark and with all these details. And then Huawei kind of copied them for their X-Mage camera, in-house camera system, which is the same thing. It's just going to tell you X-Mage and all the other relevant details. And now Oppo with Hasselblad are copying Xiaomi and Huawei. So they're following a trend of, for whatever reason, adding watermarks to their photos. I actually appreciate it. Like, I really liked how Xiaomi's came out. Like, they sort of nailed like the style like really, really quickly at launch with their watermark. Huawei sort of X-Mage watermark. I kind of don't like it. It feels like it just feels lackluster. Like, I don't like how it's designed. But Hasselblad's watermark on these Oppo phones, like, they're actually pretty good. Like, they're pretty on par of what you would find with like the Xiaomi Leica watermark. So it's just something that's interesting to me that Chinese smartphones with camera partnerships are adding these white bar watermarks to their photos. Not that it really matters, but it's a trend that's been happening for some reason. For whatever reason, the Vivo X90 phones doesn't have a watermark like this, at least not to my knowledge. But even so, I'm just kind of saying that it's an interesting trend. I don't really think it really means a whole lot other than just being like visually pleasing or just adding uh some sort of authenticity to your photos or something like that. But it's a nice thing, but I just wonder, like, is Vivo gonna do a watermark? Are other phones gonna have a watermark like this? I'm just saying, really interesting trend, but it doesn't really go further than that. And I guess I would just leave it at that. Like, I actually don't have a lot more to talk about the keynote presentation or the phone itself, which is really weird. But that's mostly responsible for the keynote itself, because I thought the keynote was like really lackluster. Like, they didn't really explain the capabilities of their camera hardware all too well, nor did they really have interesting talking points or interesting just details to talk about. Like, the keynote itself was like lackluster, which is really disappointing because it like this phone looks amazing. Like, they could have really went in depth about how their phone is just like good, or like what improvements they've made with Hasselblad or anything like that, but they didn't really go into detail like that. And that just literally just confuses me, because you have a really awesome phone and you could have done a way better job at explaining the capabilities of the phone, or even just other side commentary about the phone and the camera hardware. But that didn't really happen, so I don't know. And at that same time, it's because of that, because the presentation was lackluster, I don't really have any bad things to talk about regarding the phone, because with all my other keynote presentations, I talk about the good stuff of the phone and the bad stuff of the phone. And this time I only had good things to talk about on the Find X6 phones, which is a first for me, because I always talk about bad things with this phone. But yeah, since the presentation was lackluster, I really don't know what I don't like about the phone. Like, the design of the phone is pretty good. The camera hardware is really good. The camera processing is fairly competitive. Like, it's competitive. It's not exactly my favorite, but I like it. The natural color mode is probably better than Zeiss's color mode when it comes to capturing like the browns of stuff. Like, I kind of like Oppo's processing and color reproduction. Well, not processing, but just color reproduction for natural colors. Because Vivo phones, I do like their HDR-ness, their uncanny HDR processing. So that's better, but their their natural color processing, I think this time around is actually better. But yeah, I just wish I had some mean stuff to say about this phone, but again, I don't have much details about that. I won't be reviewing this phone. I wish I could, but I won't be reviewing this phone. If I had the opportunity to, I would. But yeah, I would recommend watching Ben Gadget's reviews on the Find X6 phone. It's just a simple camera test, not exactly a review, but what I really want you to watch this video for is the video portion, where I think it's this portion where you have, let's see. So you have Find X, there's a better way, but basically, the camera is just really good. Oh, I remember there was a night portion where you could see the text on right here. So you can see like the Find X6 Pro is using its telephoto sensor to read the what's it called, the text at 10x zoom at night, and you can read all of this text. It is completely legible. Completely legible. And with the S23 Ultra with its 10x zoom, which has a further optical focal length than the focal length on the Find X6 Pro, you can't even read it. You cannot read the text with a longer focal length, optical focal length. And with the Vivo phone, it's just as bad. It's not good. So by having a bigger sensor with more megapixels, but at a lower focal length, it really shows you how much better the telephoto sensor is than any other telephoto sensor we have on the market right now, especially for video. I think this Ben's video does a really good job at showing you the capabilities of the telephoto sensor. It's mostly the telephoto sensor. They do show main sensor and ultra wide, but this video was mostly about the telephoto sensor. Oh, and it has an even bigger aperture than the rest of the sensors, so it has more light. I forgot to talk about the aperture of the sensor. It's really big, and it's a really big sensor. Like, again, this phone has 3 main cameras. It doesn't have one main camera and 2 other cameras that makes it a triple camera setup. No, it's a triple camera setup with 3 main cameras. And that I got that idea basically from Will over at Gizmo China. He basically explains that a triple main camera system. And again, the Hasselblad colors look extremely good with browns this time around. I have no idea why, but capturing the color brown and tan and stuff like that looks really clean this time around. I really like the natural color mode on Hasselblad, which is surprising because I kind of liked Vivo's natural color mode with Zeiss, but no, this time it's way better. But I still would prefer a Vivo phone, just their processing. But yeah, this color mode looks really clean, and I really like the phone this time around. I'm not sure what else to say about the phone or anything else, but yeah, just check out these 2 videos, Gizmo China and Ben's Gadget Reviews. Really good videos. Came out day 1 when the phone came out. Processing's on this phone is pretty fine. Color mode is way better. I really like about the phone. 3 triple main cameras. Again, I really like about the phone. The design of the phone, that desert silver moon design, is really beautiful. Huawei, you need to take notes. Even though you have the best phone designs, no, you need to take notes from Oppo this time around because they've really nailed it. Oppo has done a fantastic job. I'm really impressed. And again, this sort of filter, if this phone has a filter, we can take photos like this, boom, you nailed it. I know Vivo has a filter sort of similar to this sort of film looking filter. But yeah, I'll make a video about this when that video is finished because I've been making it for months, but it's not finished. So I'd have to wait on that. And tomorrow is the Huawei P50 phones. I'm sorry, the P60 phones. We already have P50. So I'm going to make a video about the P60 phones, which come out tomorrow. I doubt the P60 phones are going to impress me compared to what Oppo's pulling off this time around. But I'm still going to give it fair commentary when that comes around tomorrow. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this video, because although this video is really different than the other Keynote videos I've talked about before, it's just, this one's just really, really good. Like, I can't fully grasp or explain like how to explain like what makes this phone really good. But yeah, this phone is really impressive. It's not my top favorite phone, but maybe it is my top favorite phone right now. Neck and neck with the Vivo X90 Pro Plus. So yeah, thank you for watching, and tune around pretty soon for the P60 phones, which is coming out tomorrow. So yeah, bye bye.